Welcome to the Be Mobile show. If you haven't met us before, it's Ollie and Jack, and we are two of the physios here where we are experts in exercise for people over 55. But exercise isn't always smooth sailing, as we are well aware. So today's topic is all about how you can take an approach, or a different approach perhaps, when things don't go your way.
Yeah, which is the crux of what we do at Be Mobile. We help people continue to exercise regardless of their situation. But Ollie, more importantly, I've discovered something pretty profound today.
Profound, okay.
Yeah, very profound. Well, I've discovered why humans can't hear a dog whistle. Because dogs can't whistle. It's a really good one.
It was good. I'd actually already read that, and it was funny when you delivered it. Yeah.
Where did you read that one? Just in the paper or something?
Yeah, it must have been in the paper, in the funnies in the back. Well, actually, my girlfriend asked me the other night, have you seen the dog bowl?
Yeah.
I said, I didn't even know he could play cricket. Off the cuff. Not bad.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that, mate. It looks like we've just lost 20 viewers.
Oh, they're all gone.
Listen, it's great to have you on board, everyone, and we've already got a couple of people. Hello, Sarah. It is great to have you here. Hope you're doing well. Joan, Helen, they're all saying hi. Listen, tell us where you're from if you are watching for the first time. That would be great, because we love to know where anyone new is coming from.
Yeah, and of course, pop in any questions in the comments or any comments, because we will get to those at the end and we can have a bit of an interaction with you. How good would that be?
For sure, let's do it. Okay, Ollie, let's jump into our talk about moving the goalpost. We're not necessarily talking about footy here, are we?
No, though we could well be.
Yes, in fact, it's probably very relevant for an injured footy player.
Yes, definitely very relevant. So, of course, here at Be Mobile, we have our online membership. We get a lot of emails from people who have a problem. They might have an injury, they might have been exercising and a new pain's developed, or something's got in the way, and they ask, what can I do about this? How can I work around it? Now, as Jack mentioned, a lot of our work is around modifying, troubleshooting, working out different ways for them to carry on with their exercise. But as I say, working around the issue.
And listen, this might be as small as, hey, I have some knee pain this week. How am I going to work around this squats? On the flip side of that, it might be, I've had my knee replacement. How can I continue to do your workouts? Okay, because I want to continue some form of exercise. What can I do? So I would say we're probably closer down to the end of when things change quite a bit. How can you actually move your goals to a new area?
So to demonstrate this point, and also to highlight that it's not just people over 55 that have these issues. People of all ages have barriers when it comes to exercise, injuries, pains, as we discussed. So I want to talk about a personal experience of mine. Now, last year, Jack, I was, well, actually this year, time goes very quickly. It was earlier this year. I was training for a triathlon. I was doing a lot of running, and there was actually one stage where I thought, this is going pretty well. I might do a marathon.
And you had a great idea to run to work.
Idea to run to work.
Which is for anyone out, 24 kilometres?
23 kilometres.
Sorry, 23.
I'll claim 24 though. But anyway, I ran to work. Didn't get much work done that day, admittedly.
So tired.
And the following week, believe it or not, my knee was very sore. I was having trouble going upstairs, certainly a lot of pain when I was running.
Which is crazy, because you wouldn't think by chucking on your work pack and running 23 kilometres to work when you've never run that distance in your life would bring on any sort of knee pain.
No, it's crazy to think.
Okay, but I'll let you continue, sorry.
Anyway, so usually with this sort of thing, I practice what I preach. I recognise there's probably not a huge amount of damage, or maybe got some sensitivity in my knee as a result of doing too much. So I pushed on. I kept doing some running, admittedly some shorter distances. I was smart enough to do that. But over weeks, and eventually after a month or two, the pain was still there. It was still stopping me from doing things. It was still bothering me during the day. So I reached a point where I thought, well, I can't persist with this anymore. It's just too sore. I'm going to do something different. So at that point, I decided, well, I'm going to change my goalposts from doing a marathon and a triathlon to something entirely different. So I had a bit of a break from running entirely. I started to ride my bike a lot more, which was a lot more pleasant for me. I did some more strength workouts in the gym and just took a break from running and focused my energy towards something else. Rather than really persisting with this thing that was causing me a lot of pain and becoming disheartened, I changed my focus to something else.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's a great strategy to go towards, and this is what we would tell someone who's a member of ours who, let's just say, will take the knee replacement, or let's just say someone has a really bad fracture on their leg or something like that, and they're not able to do a full workout. So we would probably tell them to do the same thing. We would say modify, change what your strategy is going forward, move your goalposts. So if you've just broken your lower leg, we have had a couple of members who have tripped over or something while they're hiking and done that. In fact, Sarah, who's with us, I think she's on crutches at the moment after rolling her ankle a couple of weeks ago. So what do you do then? Well, you just say to yourself, okay, I'm probably not going to be doing lunges right now. I'm probably not going to be running, walking, probably not going to be getting on a bike. So what can I do? I'm going to take them away, move them out of the goalposts. Again, we're just going to focus on things like upper body movements. Perhaps single leg movements, like doing a single leg sit to stand from the chair, rather than saying, I can't do any sort of squats. It's like, no, you can probably still load up one side of your leg, but you got the whole rest of your upper body, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And Jack, you've shared with our members your experience with your hip pain. And how you've had to change some of your expectations of what you can manage.
Yeah, I think that's a good word, expectations. So I had a lot of hip pain in the past year with a sport I did, jiu-jitsu. So it's like a wrestling sport, basically, a martial art. And there's a lot of awkward, weird movements.
Extreme positions.
Yeah, extreme positions with your hips. And I've had hip pain for quite a while, but it was getting worse and worse, similar to Ollie's knee. So I actually decided earlier, a couple of months ago, to just give jiu-jitsu a complete stop. So I just stopped it completely and thought I need to, well, firstly, just build my hip strength back up a bit and desensitize it, and then maybe try some other things. So at the moment, that is consisting of a lot more bike riding, swimming. I've changed what I'm doing in the gym, so I've kind of gone off squats and doing some other single leg exercises, and then I'm looking forward to training for a triathlon for February next year. So my focus has definitely changed. I definitely miss the jiu-jitsu. I love the contact, I love the grappling, but and that's hard to not do that, but I think it's really important to just remember, well, you've still got other things you can do. So just have a look at what you can do rather than what you're not able to do at the moment.
Yeah, interesting.
Probably be the summary.
Yeah, if we come back to my experience for a moment, what the big benefit for me was that I took a break from running for a few months, and when I came back to it, I'd recovered. My knee was feeling good, and I could resume running. Now, that might be the case for you, but for a lot of people, sometimes it doesn't recover. Sometimes you can have really long-term pain, and that's going to impact your ability to do something for a long period of time. So one of my clients that comes in here has some wrist pain, and that means that really doing any pushing exercises like push-ups, bench press, overhead press is just off the cards, and it's just been like that for him forever, and likely for the long-term future as well. So in that case, we just don't worry about that. We just do an exercise program that doesn't involve that. We still get all the benefits. You can live a full and complete life without doing a specific sort of exercise. Yeah,
that's a really good point, because I think people think, and I've certainly gone through this myself, I have to squat in my programs. I have to do a deadlift in my program. We certainly do a lot of squats and deadlifts in our programs because we think they're a great exercise for kind of global muscle and strength increase. But as you said, you can live a very nice life without doing all the necessary exercises. And you'll probably see a lot of fitness gurus out there saying, everyone should be sprinting, everyone should be running because we used to run and our ancestors ran, all that kind of stuff. But you'll see a lot of very happy people all the way from, kids up until their 90s who don't do these things.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're listening to this and you're going through an issue at the moment which is getting in the way of your exercise, we're going to get to a couple of questions in a moment which reflect that. Have a think about, well, is this something that I can put to the side for a while and focus on something else? Maybe you've got a sore back when you're lifting weights. Maybe you want to take a break from the weights and focus more on doing your hikes and doing some strength exercises where you aren't getting any pain. Or as Jack said, maybe you've got a sore knee doing your squats. Maybe you're focusing on your upper body strength training or doing some deadlifts or something like that for your lower body. Or perhaps even you've got a sore foot from walking. Maybe then you're going to try some swimming. Here in Australia, it's coming into beautiful warmer months. The water's getting warmer. So it's a great opportunity to do that. Just get creative. Think about things that you can try and switch it up with.
Yeah, and there was a really good example. I had one of our members email in because we are currently running a 5-day fitness frenzy challenge for our members where we've got a different cardiovascular exercise challenge for the 5 days of this week. And yesterday was do a 30-minute moderate intensity walk. So, and one of our members emailed in saying, I've got some plantar fascia pain at the moment, some foot pain. What can I do instead? So I said, well, you could get on a bike, probably a little bit less load on your foot. You could go for a swim. You could do another one of our cardio circuits. So it's just modifying what she's doing, trying to, as you said, change the goalpost, do something else.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Okay.
And we've got a couple of questions around that.
Let's pull them up.
Jenny here says, I get down on myself because I can't do the vigorous exercise I did 10 years ago. How do I combat the negative self-talk? Well, I mean, hopefully some of the things we've been talking about have helped.
Yeah. We'll
also just briefly touch on, high intensity fitness as we get older and the natural declines we see.
Yeah, there's a reason that we, the population of elite athletes is skewed towards people in their 20s to 30s as a generalization. Of course, there are cases where people older than that are elite athletes. But as you get older, past that age of 30, certainly we do see decreases in muscle mass, in strength, in power. So, yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say here is that you've got to change your expectations. And I think I would be focusing on what you can do. And looking to work on that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even I would say for myself, I mean, I'm 32, and if I think about my fitness levels 10 years ago, I mean, a lot of things change in life, but I definitely felt like I had more energy. I felt like I was more powerful. I was probably faster running, whereas these days I feel myself slowing down a bit. And that's just, I'm comfortable with that now. It's just an expectation that I've got in my mind now. So yeah, I'd say the same thing. In terms of the negative self-talk, I would say, life, you'll go through life and you have this monologue in your head that's talking to you all day. I would say, as you said, focus on what you can do and try to improve from there. Yeah.
And just quickly, in terms of the vigorous exercise, Jenny, if one of your concerns is you're not able to be really healthy because you're not able to do that same level of vigorous exercise, put that to the side because that's not true.
No.
You can get plenty of health benefits from doing moderate levels of exercise.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I guess the key thing we're trying to get across here is just focusing on what you can do.
Great.
Good question, though.
And Anne says, sounds like revenge of the I overdid it bunny. Deep personal experience on this one. Yes, absolutely. I tend to overdo it, as I think Ollie does as well.
Yeah.
From time to time.
Based on my story, I was about to refute that, but I've just given hard examples.
Great. And Debbie says, what alternative do you suggest for a small hernia in the groin? So modifications. Well, Ollie, you have a little bit more. Actually, I probably have a hernia. Well, I know I do on my abdominal area there, but you have some experience with this.
Yeah. Well, Debbie, it kind of depends. An alternative for what? I mean, of course, check with your doctor around what you should be doing regarding the hernia, but it really depends on the exercise. I'd start by lowering the intensities and ranges of motion for things like squats and deadlifts to see if that can make it more tolerable for you.
I think it's important, as you said, to check with your doctor because there are surgical options sometimes depending on how bad the hernia is. So really it's got to do with that, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And the symptoms that you're having.
Yeah.
That's
okay. Nothing else.
And Jenny says, thank you guys. That was super helpful. No worries, Jenny.
Glad to hear it, Jenny.
Great. Well, listen, folks, if you do have any more questions, please do get them in because we would be happy to help. Otherwise, definitely bring them along to next week's show because we can definitely answer them there.
Definitely.
Now, Ollie, just while we were talking about it, we've got the 5-day fitness frenzy challenge starting up, folks. Well, I shouldn't say starting up. We're midway through. So for our members, remember we have the 5-day fitness. Oh my God! I'll start again.
Frenzy.
For our members, we have the 5-day fitness frenzy challenge. So each of the days this week, Monday to Friday, we are doing a different cardio challenge. So today we released boxing circuit 5. Remember, you don't need gloves, you don't need a partner to box with. It's just shadow boxing with your hands, don't worry. No contact involved. So that one's a fun one with Alicia and I, and that'll definitely get your heart rate up, but also get you to work on your coordination when it comes to a bit of shadow boxing. And of course, tomorrow, mate, bit of a walking, jogging interval workout.
Ooh,
so you don't have to jog. It can just be a fast walk that you do for intervals. But all that information will be firstly on your email, but secondly on the PDF tracker that you can download in the 5-day fitness frenzy challenge page.
And we have heard from quite a few of our UK members. We've got quite a few people from the Isles, British Isles, and Ireland, of course. And yeah, a lot of snow outside, which is making walking
a little bit
frosty.
Yeah, some beautiful photos there from a couple of people. I know Sue put one up, and I know Karen had a video of the snowflakes. Just get into that Christmas feel. Yeah.
So what are you going to do instead? Well, I think a snowplow is a great investment. You have someone you know drive along in front of you and just run along behind them. No, of course, this is a problem. But we would suggest going to the cardio library as a starting point. There's some great stuff for you to do in there. A great range of different workouts. You can, if you've got access to it at the gym or perhaps at home, you do a treadmill, exercise bike, dancing even.
Yeah. I would be buying an exercise bike or a trainer for your bike if I lived in a country where you often can't get outside. I would definitely be buying that.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't do without it. It'd drive me crazy.
I definitely wouldn't be using it as an excuse to just snuggle up and watch some Netflix or something.
Oh God, that'd
definitely
be good.
Wouldn't do that.
That would be good as well. Okay, let's move it on. We have a question here from Karina Lamont. She says, I'm a couple of months into the program. I have stenosis in my lower spine and osteoarthritis, among other issues. I was getting a lot more lower back pain the day after workouts, which had reverse crunches and deadlifts. However, I now suffer much less pain after reducing the weight and changing to one leg crunches. Very happy with my progress. Sorry, more of a comment that, but yeah, this is a really good example of what we always tell people to do is reduce the intensity or the weight of the exercise and see how that works out, and it seems to have been really good for Karina.
Yeah, certainly. Good modifications. Nice.
Great. And Amanda says she is loving the new cardio workouts for day 1 of the 5-day challenge. Yep, cardio circuit 9 was an absolute blast the other day, I must say.
Yeah, it was. Who's in that one? On the spot.
Oh, I'm getting confused between aerobics because I think the aerobics is you. Oh, sorry, Clarence and Madge. But I think the cardio circuit was Alicia and I.
Yeah, okay. I can't remember. Have to check.
I think it might have been right. Anyway.
I mean, they're all good instructors.
They're all great.
Present company excluded.
Sweet as.
Now, we've got a question here from Diane.
Yes, so this was sent in prior to the show, so I've just put this, I've just given a summary there.
Great.
Ollie, do you want to read that?
So Diane says, I have total hallux rigidus in my left big toe and some osteoarthritis in all my other toes. Fortunately, it's not too painful and I can do most of the exercises except the split squat, and I can do a plank, but I think it is stressing the distal joint on the left big toe, so perhaps not a good idea. Wondering what you would recommend.
So Ollie, what is hallux rigidus?
Yeah, great question here, Jack.
Let me just quickly Google it.
So the hallux, the big toe, rigidus, it's not moving much.
Yeah, it's not moving much.
In simple terms. So,
and this is a pretty classic thing we see. I mean, I've actually experienced it myself as well on my right big toe. Yeah, but it still gets a little bit stiff. Okay. It's been like that since I dropped a very heavy torch on it years and years ago.
Big torch.
It was seriously. I dropped one of those big old dolphin torches. People in Australia will know what I'm talking about.
You did well actually lining it up.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, I just fell out of the cupboard. Boom. Anyway, so there are a couple of strategies you can use when it comes to things like split squats and planks, and we're going to show you right now, Diane. So I'm just going to move aside here. So you can see young Oliver. So Ollie, do you want to show everyone what a split squat is first, mate? And just kind of push back that way. Yep, so I can see your back toe there, yep. So a split squat, as you can see there, Brody, just zoom it in there, great. Split squat is where your back toe is very bent and you're dropping your back knee towards the ground. So this can be tricky if you do have pain in that back foot. What can you do? Well, what we recommend is grabbing something like a chair or a bench, something with cushioning, we would say. Don't use a hard, rigid surface, maybe a footstool or something like that. Pop your foot up like that, and it can be, further back or closer towards the edge of the bench, the other way, it doesn't matter. Whatever's most comfortable for you, and you're just gonna drop your knee in the same movement. And this is what we would call a rear foot elevated or Bulgarian split squat, okay? I personally prefer these because it doesn't load my toe up, so you could give that a go. If you need to hold on to something for support, you can of course do that. Okay, so that is what we would recommend when it comes to split squats. Let's go through, Ollie, a plank.
Yep.
So you can just stay there, yep.
I'm going to use this for demonstrative purposes. It's probably a little bit too high, but anyway.
Okay, so Ollie's getting down in that plank position. I'm just going to move that aside. Okay, so this is kind of a good example. So now, as you can see, he doesn't have to bend his toe back here. So it's the same as the Bulgarian split squat. But Ollie, would you say that is harder than a regular plank?
Yes, I would
absolutely. Say that. And you're probably getting a little bit more work on the front of your legs there, I imagine.
Yeah, a little bit, and the arms as well.
Yeah, so that is an option.
But you could use something smaller as well. Like we've got these kind of bags. You could prop up some cushions and do something similar.
Yeah, that's
just
a really good
that
point.
Position.
And Ollie, you could still probably do that whilst putting some weight into your toes, but it's just offloading your toes a bit as well.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Okay, great. So those are our options. Oh, let's bring it in here, partner. How are we going? Oh, jeez, I tell you.
Don't hog the screen. People want to see the mud.
So yeah, Diane, give those two a go. As far as what we'd recommend, is it a bad idea? Because she says perhaps not a good idea. No, we would say it's a good idea, even if you're getting a little bit of pain, to be doing the exercises in the first place, because the benefit that you get from that is going to outweigh the pain that you're having during the movements, as long as the pain is tolerable, I should say.
Yeah, and we wouldn't be worried about stressing the distal joint as long as it's not becoming really sore and impacting the rest of your life. Exercise is stressful. That is the idea of it. Just as long as it's within what you can tolerate, fine.
Great. And Anne comes with a question saying, you've covered this previously, but what is your advice about working through pain/discomfort where it is chronic? In my case, hip bursitis. Yeah, really good question. We just touched on the word tolerable, Anne. If you can get through your workouts and the pain is tolerable, we would say continue to challenge yourself with even heavier weights if you can. Where we want to really modify things is if the next day or after, or during you might get some pain, but if it's increasing your pain levels, you're not sleeping, the next day you're hobbling around, that is when it's unhelpful, and we would say you really need to modify, and then it's a different question of how to modify your exercises. Persistent chronic pain is a very tough situation because we've almost learned the pain so well that we become very sensitized to it. But continuing exercise regardless is going to be very beneficial for the whole rest of your body and hopefully for that joint or that muscle.
Yeah, and if this is something that you've been struggling with for a long time, Anne, and you're not seeing a way through it, always a good idea to speak with a in-person health professional.
That's good.
We also highly recommend the Explain Pain book. If you Google that, you can see that's just a book.
Brody will be able to put that in the comments, the Explain, but yeah, that's an Australian neuroscientist.
That'll give you a lot of context about what your pain means, and I think give you a really hopeful message moving forwards as well.
Great. Angie says, finding that the times where lunges appear in the strength workouts, I get very sore and I need to modify. Then typically the workouts move to other exercises or upper body. The next time the lunges come up, I'm back to square one. I feel if I did these consistently, I'd improve. Just wondered why the workouts are structured with variety rather than building up a particular area.
Yeah, that is a great question, Angie. So the reason, of course, that we include variety, well, there's a couple of reasons. Number one, it's good to challenge your body in different ways. Number two, we want to keep the workouts interesting for as many people as possible. Yep. Getting people to exercise is probably the crux of what we do, as opposed to making it really optimal. But that said, Angie, what I would recommend for you is whenever you see a squat or a leg exercise, if you really want to build on your lunges, which it sounds like you do, I would suggest putting that in place of the squat.
Keep doing the lunges.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I much
just
prefer lunges.
Just be like modifying any other exercise. Yep. Yeah. So feel free to tweak the workouts to suit your needs. Yep.
Great. Thanks so much for your question. Excellent. So Brody has posted a couple of things, a video on hip bursitis. So if you'd like to have a look at that, Anne, you can have a look at that. And also the link to the Explain Pain book, which we highly recommend, and we use it as a resource for a lot of our, when we're explaining pain, hence the name of the book, Explain Pain. Excellent. Cool. Let's move to a nice finisher, folks. So thank you so much for your questions. As I said, if you do have any more questions, please save them for next week and we will get to them in the Q&A section there. Ollie, this is a great story. Many of our listeners and our audience will have heard it before. This is kind of not necessarily what we were just talking about. This guy did the opposite of what you did. This is the story of Cliff Young, and we'll just get up the photo there of Cliff. It is loading. So in 1983, I'll just read the story here. 61-year-old farmer Cliff Young won the Sydney to Melbourne ultra marathon, which was 875 kilometres, a little bit longer than your 23, mate. Young arrived to compete in overalls and work boots. He ran at a slow and loping pace and trailed the pack by a large margin at the end of the first day. While the other competitors stopped to sleep for 6 hours, Young kept running. He ran continuously for 5 days and nights, eventually winning by 10 hours. The run took him 5 days, 15 hours and 4 minutes, almost 2 days faster than the previous record for any run between Sydney and Melbourne. Upon being awarded the $10,000 equivalent to $40,000 today, Young said that he did not know that there was a prize and that he'd felt bad accepting it. So basically he shared it between the other competitors. What a man. Brody thought we should share this one because it's just a really, well, firstly, he's over 55, which is incredible. Secondly, he just got going. I just think it's a really inspirational story.
875 kilometres. That's a long way.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And chuck in the comments, do you remember this? I mean, I obviously wasn't born when this was happening. Well, because I told people I was 32.
Oh, yeah, true. Granted, just
mate, your hair is equally as balding as mine, okay? If not more. I'm going back, baby. I obviously wasn't alive then, but it would have been pretty amazing watching that. It would have been like the Sydney to Hobart, watching them come in, you know? God.
Massive. Okay, well, on that note, folks, we're going to leave you to the rest of your day, and we will see you next week for the Be Mobile Show.